Welcome back to class. In this lecture, I'm going to give you another challenge. It's going to be another fun challenge. And also, we are literally going to build brain cells throughout this lecture. And I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very, very cool. And I was able to learn this from a man named Bob Proctor. He uses a very similar method to build brain cells. And that's what we're going to talk about right now today. So how do we begin to build brain cells? Well, you have to understand that we all have these sensory factors. We can hear, we can see, we can smell, we can taste, and we can touch. Now, with these sensory factors, they're like little antennae. They're kind of just, we go around our world and we're always picking up information that way. Think about when you were a little boy or a little girl. You were always getting into things, right? You were always testing things out. You were crawling around. You were putting things in your mouth and in your ears. I had a cousin who literally stuck a race car wheel up his nose and had to have surgery on that. My sister, she was able to take a Skittle, yes, a Skittle, and she jammed that up her nose. And you see, what happens is, well, when we do things like that, we learn to not do them. And that's where we are starting to build our brain cells. We build them at a very young age. But you know what? That's not where brain cells stop building. In fact, super learners are always building their brain cells. But you know what? Super learners are also aware that they're building their brain cells. So here's what I'm going to do with this challenge. I'm going to show you two pictures. This first picture I'm going to show you, and I want you to follow along and tell me what this is. I'm now going to show the picture on the screen, and it should be fairly familiar to you. Ready? Here comes the first picture. Did you know what our first picture was? How did you know what our first picture was? Well, probably because you've dealt with that before. You've dealt with that object before. You've seen it, you've smelled it, you've maybe tasted it, you've maybe, got to touch it, and maybe, you've used all these sensory factors. And so when that picture showed up on the screen of your mind, your brain cells remembered it. You already had these built-in brain cells because you've dealt with that object before. Now I'm going to show you another picture. And some of you may have seen this, but some of you may not have. And I want you to now guess to the best of your ability. Your challenge is to guess what this picture is, and I want you to write it down. Ready? Here comes our second picture. Were you able to recognize our second picture? Do you know what it was? Well, I'm going to tell you and show you the picture again about what exactly this is. So you're probably thinking to yourself, what on earth did I just see? Well, you're actually looking at a torture device used in the Middle Ages. Now, this torture device is called the Pear of Anguish. And I was able to find this picture on Wikimedia, and it's free to use. But if you look at this, this is used for putting in the mouth. And it's also, like if you see here the picture, they put this in the mouth to keep people quiet. And if you use your imagination, I'm sure it can fit in other places as well. So this is a torture device. Now, the next time you see this, you will have some recognition because you literally have just built brain cells of recognition by me describing and telling you what this object is. Now, after doing this challenge, you literally just built brain cells of recognition. You see, the first object, you already had the brain cells of recognition. You knew what it was, for the most part. Some people may not have, right? But I tried to keep the object very, very simple and something that a lot of people have seen. Now, the second object, you most likely have not, and I tried to make it a very unique object. And so what you did now is by me telling you what it was and you seeing it, you just built brain cells of recognition. So if you were to see that object again, you would recognize it. You literally just built brain cells. How awesome is that? Now, this is how the learning process works. You're constantly building these brain cells. If you don't recognize something, how's the best way to be able to learn it and recognize it and be able to remember it? Well, simply using your sensory factors. Use your smell, your taste, your seeing, your touch, all of these different factors. These will help you learn and remember the item so much better. If not the item, you can remember a book, you can remember words, you can remember a person, a place, a thing. But you have to build your brain cells, and you have to have this understanding of how to build your brain cells. Cells of recognition. We just built some in this lecture. It's now your turn to go build more by learning and finding out what you want to learn. So I thank you again for learning with me here today in class, and I look forward to teaching you more in our next lectures, so stay tuned.